Good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda Little, and I'm going to be talking to you today about being the youngest in my family, or the littlest little. To begin, I'm going to give you a quick idea of my family. My brother Matthew is 22 years old, my sister Rachel is 20 years old, and my parents, I am not permitted to tell their age. So I'm going to start off with a quick story to give you a picture of my family. When I was very young, my family and my siblings and I put on musicals, specifically Disney musicals. And I only ever remember performing one musical, The Lion King, and one song from that musical, Be Prepared. It's the one where Scar is singing to his hyenas about how he's going to rule Pride Rock. So we would invite all of our neighbors to come to our house, and we would put it on in my brother's room, and we brought the ladder up from the garage, and my brother was standing on top of the ladder, singing at the top of his lungs, Be Prepared. And my sister and I were on the ground, bowing down to him, singing, Om. That's the greatest picture of my family that I can give you. When I started Oakridge, I had no idea the profound effect that having siblings who attended the same school would have on me. Granted, I was 4 at the time, but I should have seen it coming. There's been a member of my family at Oakridge since 1995. My brother and I both started in pre-K 4, and my sister started in kindergarten. Having siblings who attended the same school has been both a blessing and a curse to me. On one hand, I have a guidebook to Oakridge. I know which classes to take, how to deal with certain teachers, and which activities to get involved in. My brother and sister are very different. My sister is very black and white, A-type personality, and my brother lives in the gray and is very laid back. So when I start a new class, I try to determine which sibling a teacher liked better or got along better with, because since they're so different, it changes how I approach the class. But then on the other hand, having siblings can also be a curse. When I walk into a classroom, teachers have preconceived notions or expectations of how I should be because my siblings were a certain way. I always consider Rachel the smart one and Matthew the funny one, and I'm just living in the middle. My mom hates when I say this because she says we're both smart and funny and wonderful, as all moms should. But as I was growing up, I was desperate to prove that I was my own person, that I was different than my siblings. So I rebelled, but in classic little fashion, my rebellion was a little different than everyone else's. I took French instead of Spanish, choir instead of drama, but the kicker was I did not join student council until my 8th grade year. This was a big deal for me. Student council had been something that my family had done all the time. They started in 7th grade. But then 8th grade year rolled around, and my mom said, Amanda, you can try it now, or you can try it in high school. I suggest you try it now in case you hate it. And it's 5 years later, and I'm executive president, so we see how that rebellion went. I can't explain to you why me and my siblings like the same things. It's probably because we're a little more alike than any of us would like to admit. My siblings have impacted me in much bigger picture ways, though. I've had an example my whole life, someone going ahead of me and telling me what it's like in the distance. And they've faced trials much more important than which AP test to take. I've watched their relationships, their fights, their panic attacks, and their failures. I watched them royally screw up and at the time not know how to fix it. The reason I am the way I am today is because of observation. It's easier for me if they screw up because then I know what not to do in the future. My sister graduated in 2012, and she's at TCU now. When she left, I was a little nervous because my sister's a little socially awkward, and only I can say that because she's my sister and I'm her best friend. So on the last day of sorority recruitment, she calls my mom, and she's bawling, and she says, I'm not getting in. And my mom's like, what happened? I puked in her hands. What? You see, my sister, on the last day of sorority recruitment, had vomited in the hands of one of the girls who would be determining if she was going to enter the sorority. She ended up getting into the sorority, and this is her second semester serving as risk manager on the executive board. Now, why do I tell this story? One, it makes me extremely happy to tell a story about my sister vomiting in someone else's hands. And two, it taught me a very important lesson, that even if you think you really messed something up, things have a way of working out for the best. Having siblings has made me an intent observer and a keen listener. It keeps me motivated. I'm not normally a competitive person, but with my siblings, I'm a psycho, especially about grades. If I know they made this GPA and this score on the AP test, I better match that, if not beat it. It's what keeps me in check, the fear of being the worst. I think that's youngest child syndrome, though, the feeling of inadequacy, because you're the youngest and least wise in the room. But that's a conversation for another time with the therapist I'll need in about 10 years. When we were younger, my brother used to hold my sister and I by the backs of our necks. This is his way of showing affection in a sweet but moderately sociopathic way. My brother is not a sociopath. He's a psychopath. I can feel my mom's eyes bearing into my soul as I talk about my brother being a psychopath on stage. But even though he doesn't hold us by the backs of our necks or practically strangle us anymore, he still is leading us, guiding us in the most unobvious ways, making sure we have the tools that we'll need for the future and helping us get there in the easiest possible way. And that's what family's about, helping each other get through it all with at least half your sanity intact at the end. I am a compilation of the experience, love, and advice that my siblings and my parents have given me. I am who I am because of them. In the end, my siblings have impacted me in a positive and a healthy way to help me become the classy lady that I am today. Thanks so much.